You know why? What's that? Jeff's on. Hey, Jeff.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. You staying out of trouble?
Working on it.
Lisa's here.
Told me you better stop hanging out with me then.
That's true. I'm told you need to stop hanging out with Eric, Jeff, so take it under advisement.
You don't know what to say.
He's like,
He doesn't know I'm here.
it's a trap. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't get it unmuted again. How are you?
No worries. I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm excited to see what you guys have in store today.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. And if it's a smaller group, there's more directions that we could go, which is fun for me.
I bet.
Are you guys able to do videos?
Mhm.
What was that?
Are you able to turn videos on if we are more conversational here? Nice. All right, so we will get started. I am curious. So it's Eric, Jeff, and Lisa at this point, and who knows, maybe we'll have others hop on, but because you guys are the ones that were here in time, I'll let you guys weigh in. So the plan for this, Jeff, you came to one of these a couple weeks ago, was to do a watch of a breakout session that I thought was particularly good for Mega Camp. That aired 2 months ago that you probably didn't see, all about financial freedom and the why, the how, the mindset, and the path towards it. So we can do that, watch it and discuss for a few minutes, or we can go more kind of mastermind. And I've got thoughts. This is a topic that I'm really passionate about, that I really enjoy talking about. And by no means do I have the corner on the market of having figured it out, but we can go more conversational. I can queue up some questions and we can bat it around that way. Do you have thoughts as to which route you'd rather go? Hearing from Jay Papazan and interview an agent, and then us debrief. That's option one. Option two is us kind of masterminding on the topic together. Eric, what do you think?
Jay.
Jay? Vote for Jay?
I'm good with either way.
Okay. Jeff,
Mastermind. Mastermind.
Okay. Jeff, how about you?
The mastermind sounds good.
Jeff, you were supposed to vote with me, not against me.
Welcome, Emma. Glad you're joining us.
I didn't want them to know I have a bias.
They don't. Now I do.
Do one of these so we can see you a little bit better. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll make it more conversational, and it requires mics unmuted, and it's a much more interactive setting. Eric, do you want to use my laptop so that you can be seen here? Well, Steven's joining
No,
us.
that's okay.
Okay.
I can talk loud enough.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll roll this way. Welcome, Steven. Welcome, Emma. We have just decided to go a more interactive route on this conversation. So the thought had been to do a kind of a watch and learn and discuss with Jay Papazan, recorded from Mega Camp, and now we're going to go into a more interactive mastermind. And for those who really want to watch this session, Eric or others, I can give you my login information. It's not downloadable, it's in the platform of Mega Camp if you want to go in and watch it as well. Welcome, Trina. Okay, so you are all here and you're here for a reason, and I don't know that reason. I could presume that you want to learn a little bit more about wise handling of finances, talk about your goals, but let's fire around the room for as many as are able to share. What's the one thing, the one burning question, the one priority for you as you think about the path to financial freedom? Jeff, I'll put you on the spot. We'll go Jeff, then Lisa, and then Eric.
And the question was, what is our path to financial freedom?
No, my question is, why are you here today? What are you hoping to get out of today's conversation?
Okay, so I'm just here today to learn, to see what others are doing to obtain financial freedom. I'm almost 40 years into it, and I think I'm in an okay spot, but I would like to be in a better spot. So kind of seeing what information is out there and what others are doing that are having success.
Cool. How about you, Lisa?
For me, it's a motivational thing. To me, financial freedom is not the same as other people. A lot of people think of financial freedom as never having to work again. I think of financial freedom as not owing anybody any debt, but the thought of never working again is not something I could really entertain at this point in my life. But yeah, so for me, it's like I want the motivation to get where I can do what I want, but still work.
Okay. So you want more ideas, more thoughts, hearing from others about that path.
Yeah, and because there's a lot of stuff that I don't know about finances. There's a lot I do know, but two heads are always better than one, and 3 and 4 are even better than 2. So,
Amen. Amen. Eric, how about you?
All right, I voted against masterminding first off. So I'm being forced to share here, but that's okay.
Exactly. You'll survive.
It's painful. I'm here just to learn as much as I can as well. I'm looking to be able to give back to others is my goal, to be debt free, but in the process along the way, I want to be able to give back to others and do things for others that I wouldn't be able to normally do along the way. I'm looking to be wise at saving, wise at expenses, and not spend where I don't need to spend.
Emma or Steven, do either of you guys want to chime in on kind of why you're here or what you'd like to get out of our conversation today?
I'm here because I kind of want to know what habits other people have. Maybe if they aren't financially free now, but if they're on a good path to being there eventually, I hope to be there in the next 10, 15 years. And I want to know what I can do now to grow my business so that in 10 years, I can pretty much not have to work and do what I want. I personally would like to get into investing, hopefully here soon. But I got to work on some stuff now to even start doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So habits, you've got a time frame in mind, investing, but a foundation that needs to be laid before that. Love that. Clearly given this thought before this moment. Steven or Trina, do you guys want to chime in?
I'm just here to learn. Me and my wife plan on investing in the next couple of years. So just trying to get all and any information that's out there.
Hi there.
Hi, Trina.
Well, I retired. I worked pretty hard for the state of Ohio. I retired when I was 49, and then I became a realtor. I invested at a very young age, so I've been very blessed. And actually, I this kind of caught my attention because of the CEU, but I thought, oh, this is kind of be interesting to see what others are doing to try to get ahead. And if I have any input, but my main way of getting ahead was investing as much as I could as early or as soon as possible. So that's my 2 cents.
Time on task over time. That's awesome. Well, we're glad you're here. So a couple other kind of intro questions before we dive a little bit more into content. If you're Zooming, if you want to drop it in the chat, it's fine. I want to hear, and there's no wrong answer. As far as I'm concerned, this is a shame-free zone, but how would you rate yourself 1 to 10 from a financial literacy standpoint? Kind of knowing the nuts and bolts, knowing the vocabulary, knowing kind of the mechanics of winning with money. If you want to drop that in the chat, just for me to kind of gauge the room a little bit. There's no wrong answers. Thank you,
There's
Jeff.
only one.
I should put the chat up there so you can see here. Awesome. Okay. Qualitatively, okay, we got 7s, an 8, 4, 4.976. Eric at an 8. Does anyone want to take a stab? And there's no right or wrong answers here as well. How would you define financial independence or financial freedom? I'll use those terms interchangeably.
Like no debt, steady income on a diverse portfolio. So you're making money without having to release things, like you have investments, whether it's a business or a property that is making income, plus you don't owe like debt.
Okay. So we've got no debt. That's in line with how Lisa was defining things. So not owing nothing to nobody, but then having passive income coming from your investments. Is that kind of where you're going with that, Jeff?
Yeah, and then obviously you have to have a bank account that has money in it too, but it depends on what your other portfolios look like.
Mm-hmm. Anyone want to build upon that or disagree, flesh that out more?
I think that financial independence also means that, not only are you debt free, but you don't have a bunch of liabilities. You have more assets, or you turn your liabilities into assets. Yep. So that they can make money for you. That's what I try to do with my stuff when I can, when city states allow me to. But I think it's more than just being out of debt, because you can still be poor day to day if you don't do your spending correctly.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yep. You can own nothing but have nothing.
Exactly.
And that's better than having nothing and owing a ton, but owing nothing and having something.
Still a problem.
Yeah, I would say is better.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's continue to build on this. I like we're getting a sharper definition. You want to build on that?
I think that having financial freedom is that you have enough money coming in from passive income that you don't have to work.
Okay. You want to define passive income for me, Emma?
I was told that it's whenever your money is working for you, so you own enough in assets that basically run themselves.
Yep, I like that. I prefer the term, this is just a personal hobby horse, I prefer the term unearned income because for me, real estate investing is a big thing. And I'll tell you, it's not a W-2 job, I'm not a 1099 contractor, but it involves some work. And some would say, well, that's not truly passive income. I'm like, well, that's fine. But that's how I'm looking to get there a little bit faster. For me, the definition of financial freedom, and I forget where I pulled this from, Gary Keller had some thoughts on this, is the ability to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want, for however long I want. It's not a number, it's a freedom. And to Lisa's earlier point, it doesn't necessarily mean you're just sitting back and never working a day again in your life. I think, in my opinion, the picture of retirement that's just sitting back and sipping pina coladas with nothing to do, that sounds pretty unfulfilling. The person that would work hard enough to be able to get to that point probably has things that they want to do. Whether I need to work that job or not is up for grabs. But I like the freedom piece. It may involve working a job. It may involve plugging in with a ministry or a nonprofit that I'm passionate about. Trina is agreeing there. Anyone else want to kind of throw in a definition or how they understand financial independence, financial freedom?
One more thing to add, if you don't mind, Mark, choice. You can make the choice whether you want to work or not. You can make the choice whether you want to do this or not. When people are raising kids and whatnot, and they're strung, from week to week, they don't have a choice. They have to keep working. They don't have a choice. So I think choice is a big thing in financial freedom.
Right. You're doing it because you want to, or you feel called to, not because you're tied down, someone breathing down your neck.
Right. And you can make that choice. You aren't being forced to do what you might not want to be doing. You have that financial freedom to say, no, I'm going to do this.
That's great. Any other thoughts on the concept of financial freedom?
I think, maybe to simplify what you were saying, it's being able to splurge when you want to splurge.
Sure.
Is really what it boils down to without going into debt.
Yeah. Freedom to make choices without guilt.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people who make those choices, and then
Right.
there's a statement at the end of the month that says you better figure out a way to pay this
You
off.
still have to be wise financially, or it will all be gone quickly, because it's easy to go away. It's hard to earn. So just simplifying it would be being able to splurge at the time that you want to splurge for whatever reason it may be.
Yes. There's a podcast that I love, and it's a blog as well, called Afford Anything. And basically the author and podcasters, her assertion is, you can afford anything, you can't afford everything. To your point about choice and splurge when I want, that doesn't mean I'm sailing on a yacht and living the high life. But if I want to go on that vacation, or if I want to go to that nice restaurant, I can do so without guilt or without repercussion. There's a flexibility and flexible luxury, even if it's not a life of luxury. For sure. So we're speaking conceptually about financial freedom. How do we hone in? Does anybody have, as you think about goals, how do we get to a goal as it relates to financial freedom? So we're talking qualitatively. It's a freedom, it's choice, it's flexibility, it's passive income. Has anyone thought more specifically than that? Is there a number that you have in mind? Anyone want to jump in on that?
Are you talking monetary number? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Let's just say $1 million then.
Sure. How'd you come to that? And does that number, Erica said $1 million, does that mean financial freedom for you?
At my age, $1 million worth a lot more than Emma's age, $1 million, because
Yes.
my
Tell me more.
my life is past that age where I need as much money as she's going to need, just because I'm older.
Right.
So from that standpoint, $1 million is worth a lot. She may want 2 million, 2.5, 3 million, just because she has more life to live than I do.
Right.
But mine also is kind of, what do I want to leave as my legacy for my kids?
Right.
Or a charitable organization, or whatever that may look like. My goal is not to be in excess of money. My goal is to be able to do for others.
Yes.
And that process, because
Yes.
me and my wife are giving people. So how do we look at that? And what do we want to do for others along the way, not expecting anything in return?
Yes, so there's, if we want to visualize a pyramid, to Eric's point, if we think about financial freedom as a journey, down here, I can't think about leaving a legacy to others if I can't pay my own bills. So personal expenses, that's the first thing, and the first, to Emma's point, financial freedom is when our unearned income or our passive income or our money makes money for us so that we don't need a job. But, at this stage, we still need that job to take care of things. The personal expenses earned and paid for. That's base level. If you can't even keep up with that, I'm going in debt every month. That's a problem. You've got an offense problem. Can you guys see that for those who are on the screen? Can you see the pyramid? Kind of, not really.
No.
No, I have to listen to know what you're talking.
Okay, well, I'll avoid it. So at the bottom of the pyramid is personal expenses. So your job covers your expenses. And if that's not true, we're not talking about financial freedom. We're not talking about unearned income. There's some people that I've spoken with, I want to get passive income. It's like, well, do you have enough earned income at the baseline to cover that? And it's in the excess, then we start talking about the unearned side of things. So a good wealth building plan involves three kind of major tenets. You got your defense, you got your offense, and then you've got your investing. So good defense, anyone want to take a stab at what I mean by that?
Savings, like your money in the bank.
Not quite, Jeff. So defense is, I could make it's the broke doctor. It's the broke doctor analogy where he makes $250,000 a year, but because of his lifestyle, he's not able to build any wealth.
I'm not going into debt.
Compare him to the plumber who makes 80 grand a year and is worth way more than him because the doctor has terrible defense. And so defense is controlling your expenses. And this might seem rudimentary in 8th grade math, but if your lifestyle exceeds your expenses, you got a defense problem, and you might also have an offense problem. But being really dialed in, and I don't know how many of you utilize a monthly budget. My wife and I, we utilize the program called Every Dollar. It's a Dave Ramsey free product that we use. There's You Need to Budget is one. There's mint.com if you're a spreadsheet person. But if you're not tracking your expenses, you don't even know where you're starting from. So that's boilerplate. Boilerplate is having good defense, and there's always ways that you can kind of trim and focus your defense, because really, back to Emma's point about financial independence is reached when your unearned income monthly surpasses your expenses. It's called the crossover point, where my expenses are here and the income that's earned from my investments, my money earning money, surpasses my monthly expenses. But if my expenses keep bloating, each year a little nicer, I either need a higher rate of return. I need to earn 20% on my money as opposed to 4% on my money, or I need to curtail my investments or my expenses, in order to get there. So a good financial independence plan starts with strong defense. Takeaway is, if you don't operate on a budget, start today. If you don't know where to start, shoot me a message. I'd be glad to share how my wife and I do it. It's not rocket science, but if you're not paying attention, you can't measure what you're not paying attention to. And so that is essential. So defense, tenet 1. Tenet 2, offense. So if defense is controlling expenses, offense is increasing income, widening the gap. If I'm holding my expenses and then my income is increasing over time, that's creating more margin here by which to save and invest, to the point that Jeff made. The good news for each of you who are here is that you're in an industry where it's hard work, but the income potential is really high. there's plenty of industries where the ceiling is very clearly defined. I used to work in higher education, and you might expect a little 2, 3, 4% bump each year, for which you're grateful, but you're not going to be changing anyone's legacy with those sorts of changes. So with real estate, being able to say, hey, I made 50 last year, and I'm going to make 75 next year, and I'm going to make 125 the following year, which doesn't happen automatically, but does happen over time if you're smart about it.
One extra transaction per month is life changing.
Exactly. If you didn't hear
You
that,
don't get that opportunity at other jobs.
right. To be able to control that, you can have your best year ever in plenty of industries, and it means nothing for your income. And you can have your best year ever in real estate, and it means you've made 300% of what you made the previous year. And that may not be your numbers this year, but it might be close by the time it's all said and done, Eric. But to the point about defense versus offense, there's plenty of, I think in our business, we talk about volume, units, and that's offense. But if you're not controlling your expenses within your business and all you do is spend, there are plenty of people that run modest sales business, but are way more profitable than people who run twice as much business because of how they spend. And so that can be true within your business, and that can be true within your personal life as well. Other thoughts as it pertains to the offense pillar? Any questions about that? So the third tenet, this might be why you're here, I want to dive more into this, is investing. So as you're running with my graph, so as you're managing your expenses, and yeah, you can tweak up, or you major life event, or make the decision to put your kids in a private school, things that we have control over, but may choose to expand our lifestyle over. But as our income increases, creating opportunity or gap between the earning and the spending, that creates opportunity for investing. Before I dive into that, I want to back up so Eric shared a number. He's at $1 million just as a starting point. He made the point that $1 million will take him further than it'll take Emma because of time horizon, insofar as we know what the Lord has planned. And so coming up with your number, when I say, do you know your number for financial independence? Most people would say no. Most people would say, oh, I'd like to make X per year, or I'd like to have X in the bank. I'd like to be generating X a month in passive income. But when we talk about your number in financial independence, your number for financial independence, Lisa, I feel like you might have an idea how to get there. When I say you know how to get to your number in financial independence, do you want to take a stab?
Well, I think the thing is that you just have to, you mean once you get investments going, is that what you mean?
I'm asking the net worth number. How much money do you need to have in order to say you've reached your number?
Oh, gotcha. Honestly, the only thing I've ever seen on that, I don't know as much as maybe you think I do. The only thing I've ever seen on that is you have to there's scales you can use for inflation to try to figure it out. I don't know if you're talking that specific. I've seen it with my financial advisor, he gave me this scale and said, well, this is kind of how much that you're going to be okay. So I didn't really focus on it too much because of the investments I've already made. But I think, it's going to change so much with each person just because of how long that they are living.
Right.
I'm 57, so I might not have 40, 50 years to go. Very doubtful. Where someone a lot younger, their number is going to be a lot higher. But to actually hit that number, my thought is you have to pay off debt. You have to, make liabilities assets and just keep plugging into the savings account until that compound interest starts working for you.
Sure. So as I was drawing on the pyramid that you guys couldn't see, so at the bottom of the pyramid is having a job that covers your expenses. Up from that is having income coming in unearned or a portion of it unearned that covers your expenses. So kind of base level financial independence would be having enough unearned money so that no one's going to have to pay for you in order to live in a nursing home or to pay your bills towards the end of your life, whenever that is. So it's expense coverage through the money or the assets that are generating money that you have. But I would argue up from that, a higher version of that, and this gets to the point that Eric was making, was what if the money that you had, the assets that you had, to your comment, Lisa, is growing at a rate that it's not depleting. And so that your heirs or a charity you're passionate about or a mission that you're passionate about is the beneficiary, not just of you getting by, but of you having been really savvy with money. And that's in my mind, that's the ultimate goal. And maybe not only is your nest egg not going down, but maybe it's increasing over time because of the level of momentum that you've got. And so to back into that, let's start with what you need every month in expenses to get by. And we'll just talk in round numbers because that's easier. But that's when we get back to budget. If you don't know what you're spending, if you don't know what your lifestyle needs are from a financial standpoint, then you're not starting from anywhere. So I'll say $5,000 a month. That's about the number for me. And I have three numbers. I have $3,000 a month. Like if everything went to pot and things went crazy, my family could get by on $3,000 a month. I figured that out, and we'd have to tighten things down. We'd be okay. $5,000 a month is like, yeah, okay, we'd be fairly comfortable there, and you have to make sacrifices, but we'd be okay. And then $7,000 a month is like, yeah, this is a comfortable. We'd be able to do the things we want to do and go on a vacation and those sorts of things. So you back that number in. So let's multiply 5,000 times 12. So your 5,000 times 12 is what? 60,000. So I need $60,000 a year in unearned income in order to be able to say that I'm financially independent. Everybody tracking with me? Conventional wisdom will say that your money, when you adjust for inflation, to Lisa's point, and yeah, it's mainly an inflationary number, your money needs to earn at least 4% per year in order to outstrip inflation. If your money is only making 1% a year, you're actually losing money because inflation. Right now, inflation rates are crazy, but year over year, GDP tends to grow by about 3 or 4%. And so if you're north of 4%, you're good. So we then can talk about a safe withdrawal rate. This is conventional wisdom that you'd hear from an investment advisor. Safe withdrawal rate means that if I'm only ever taking 4% a year off of my portfolio, then I'll never run out of money. You tracking with me? Because inflation's not going to exceed 4% over the course of time. And so if I'm only ever, say I've got $1 million, I'm taking 4% a year off of that. That's $40,000 a year. And again, that's with the goal of it not depleting. So we can modify that. Then that's a safe withdrawal rate. If you're taking 8% a year, you'd either need to have the longest run of the best market in history or plan on that diminishing a little bit over time to get you hopefully to the end of your life and with a little bit of change at the end. So the assumption in that is that inflation is not going to exceed 4% over time, but also conservatively that your money is not going to earn more than 4% on itself. So the stock market, does anybody know what the stock market has averaged over the course of the last 100 years? On a year over year average?
I'm gonna say 10%, just guessing.
10%? Any other guesses? Yeah, you're depends on how you, exactly what version of it you're looking at. It's between 10.8 and 11.2%, which that's not an indicator of future outcomes. That doesn't mean it'll always be that way. But as you average over the course of the last, I think, 110 years since we started tracking this stuff, the stock market goes up by about 10% a year. This year was like a 30% year, which is why when we talk about consumer confidence being down, most people don't expect this to continue. So if you just plopped your money in the stock market, in an S&P 500 fund, which is a great thing to do, your money earned 30% this year, which isn't bad. There's been plenty of years where you're at 2%, or there's some years the dips where it's negative and people's nest eggs got cut by 20, 30, 40%. I don't know if you experienced that back in 08, 09. But that's
Came back around though.
it did come back around.
It did come back around.
If you didn't sell everything at the bottom, right? So with that conventional wisdom, for me to back it in, and I left my phone in the other room. Eric,
Did you go get it?
no, you can just pull up your calculator. My numbers, I'm using $5,000 a month, means $60,000 a year, and multiplying that times 25. I'm gonna guess that's like 1.5.
Yep.
Is that what it is?
1.5.
So that's $1.5 million I need to have with those assumptions. Are you tracking with me? When you hear that math, when you hear that logic, I want to hear some reflections. Is that daunting? Is that less than you thought? Initial thoughts there.
Seems too low.
Seems too low?
Mhm.
Tell me more.
Just like with like what I know in my life, like I know someone who had that, and you don't know what expenses are going to come up, and that money can go really quick if you have a health situation later in life.
Yes.
That's why you have health insurance, but you're also, if you have 1.5 million in the bank, you're probably debt free. So if you're doing it right, you should be debt free. You got 1.5 million. If you don't, there's something wrong. You better take that 1.5 million and get rid of it.
Well, and so let's specify here. So net worth, definition of net worth is, to use terms that Lisa's been dancing on, is when your assets minus your liabilities. So if I have $100,000 in savings and investments, and I have a $300,000 value home, and I have a $200,000 mortgage on that home, real broad brushstrokes, my net worth in that scenario is $200,000. So 100,000 plus 300,000 minus $200,000. And so we need $1.5 million in net worth, earning at least 4% in order to do that. But some would say, and I'm with you, I'm more conservative with the way that I think about finances. There are those who are more aggressive investors, say, leverage up, get it while the money's cheap, and then I'll pay it down. I'll pay it down later in life. And some of that's a risk tolerance, and some of that's a stage of your career standpoint. But I'm with you. I think mitigating risk, when you own the ground you walk on, free and clear, it just feels different, to quote Dave Ramsey. But there are those who say, hey, I'd rather, my path to 1 million means I have 4.5 million and I have $3 million in debt, which there are those out there who have that, and I would discourage that sort of mindset. Anyone want to take a stab at what their number is from using that 4% rule? Your monthly income, turn that into your annual, or your monthly expenses, turn that into annual, and then multiply by 25.
Is that for 25 years that you think you'll be collecting it? Is that where that 25 comes
No,
from?
the 25, sorry, that's so if you're only losing 4% a year,
Okay.
that means that value, the 25 times value, will never go away. You'll have that as a nest egg to pass on to your heirs. Your money will always generate enough money for you to live on without having to go into the principal.
Right. See, what I'm trying to figure out is my husband will get a pension because he's military.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to figure out the monthly minus the pension, you know what I mean? Trying to figure it out that way to see what we would need.
Even though that pension is not an asset for you, it's not like, oh, here we go, we got $600,000 at the bank. It's producing that level of income. So you
Right.
say you need $5,000 a month, and it's going to kick off $3,200 a month. I'm obviously just making up those numbers because I have no idea.
Sure. Right.
Solve for the 1,800, which is
Yeah.
not a bad position to be in. One of the benefits of a pension is you should have it for life, and hopefully there's a survivor benefit to go with it.
Yeah, I think there is. I think he gets less, but he did have a survivor benefit. But it's just, I don't even know how much it's going to be. I got a roundabout, but don't know for sure. Military's so complicated.
Sure.
You know, you have to buy out so many years. It has to do with him. He's getting actually a double pension, one from his work where he's working as a civilian. He's a civilian employee, but he's working for the government, and then he has his military pension on top of that, which is, it's all so confusing to me. But what I'm trying to figure out is, you know, I don't want to depend on Social Security because I don't believe it's going to be there. What I'm trying to figure out is if something happened to him, yeah, I would have that money coming in, but how much would I need so that I can live without having to, you know, impose upon my children, because I don't want to do that.
You might try to turn that back on. Our lights just went off in here. Just turned into the movie theater.
Maybe they're trying to tell me to shut up.
Yeah, something's going on. Yeah, Lisa, I appreciate you raising that point, and not to turn things political, but I you know, and I'm just in my 30s, hopefully plenty of life ahead of me. I don't calculate Social Security at all. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not, but I'm not building a plan that requires it.
Me neither.
Everyone's situation's different. If you're 3 years away from when you might be collecting, you might, you know, need to rely on that or more justifiably rely on it. But I think if you're in a position to not bank on it, no pun intended, then if you get it, all the better. It's gravy. It's not necessary.
Right.
Other thoughts with regards to your number? Jeff, did you come up with a bigger number for me just to make you feel better?
No, I don't know, because I just get like, I just saw my to be real, I just saw my grandma's like ton of money dwindle down, and then I saw more bad decisions made on top of that, like through my parents. So like when it comes to like what financial freedom means to me, like I don't ever think there is a number because of just my experience, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Well,
So-
financial freedom could also be the safeguards that protect us
Right.
in that process. So it could be life insurance. It could
Long-term
be
care
having
insurance.
medical.
Long-term care.
So, I mean, so I think that's financial stability too.
Yes.
Because I've never been without health insurance. And had I not had the health insurance I had last year, I would be in deep trouble.
Yeah.
With cancer surgery and treatments and everything that I battled last year. You know, so just really, those are just the safeguards
Well, and that's part of a good
their
defensive scenario is, yes, it's my monthly expenses, but it's also mitigating for future risk, you know, and we can complain about your health insurance premium being high or whatever, but really, at least here in America, for as broken as the system is, again, not trying to get political, at the very least, it protects you from overwhelming catastrophe. You might say, oh, that copay was more expensive, or I didn't want to pay for this out of pocket. But if you have a $250,000 event, decent insurance should cover that. Long-term care insurance, that's the sort of thing that can totally destroy a nest egg late in life, and to just factor, okay, at some point, this is going to be something that I'm wise to have. Disability insurance. These are all things that can be real expenses, but help mitigate against the absolute worst case scenario. And each person's situation and stage of life is different, but yeah, a good financial plan has to have those. You can't just be banking on the savings account in order to do that. Eric, do you have thoughts with regards to the number?
I just feel like $1 million, my goal is to have more each year moving forward. And if I don't get to $1 million, 750 probably could still do what I needed to do. My goal is to, get my house paid off and, be debt free from that, and I just refinanced and I saved 1.6%.
Wow.
So I had to wait till I was in real estate 2 years just because of being 1099. So I would have done it sooner. I'm walking away with money in my pocket every month. A significant amount of money.
Yep.
Every month.
Well, and
So-
for you, a big part of that was getting that offense going. It's not, we can talk about investing, and I'm glad to talk about it in a second here. But if you're not selling or if you're not making, then investing is a moot point. So let's talk about investing. So good defense is controlling your expenses. Well, first of all, we're starting with the goal. What am I aiming for? And I get it, to your point, Jeff. We don't know what the future holds. That being said, I think it's better to aim at something than at nothing, because that holds us accountable monthly. And I'm not going to pull it up. I'm a super nerdy spreadsheet guy, and so I track my net worth every month. Not because it's an Ebenezer Scrooge sort of stacking my piles of coins, but it kind of gamifies it. I know what I'm aiming for, and I know what I'm trying to accomplish each year. Each year I set a goal based upon net worth goals, saying, okay, how much am I going to save per month from a base minimum? Like, if, I'm going to save this, and then as it grows, and I'm at a place now where, I've been investing for enough years where it's beginning to take on some momentum. A good couple of weeks in the market or in real estate means, there's some real momentum here, which doesn't happen when you're just getting started. But the beauty of compound interest is that it snowballs over time. So investments, let's talk about it for a second. As you think about investments, as you think about building a decent investment strategy, what are the kind of 2 or 3 or 4 asset classes that come to mind as you think about an investment portfolio?
Real estate for me.
Stocks.
Real estate for Lisa, stocks.
Mutual funds, a little more secure for me.
Yep. Mutual funds for Trina.
How about your personal house too? Like that should be increasing in value 4% a year.
For those of you who've read the book, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I haven't, which if you haven't, I strongly recommend it. It's kind of a classic of financial independence. Robert Kiyosaki, the author, to your point, Eric, would say, while your house hopefully at least retains its value, he defines an asset, and this isn't how most people define asset, but an asset is something that produces income for you. And so a rental house is an asset, but your primary residence, he would say, it's a store of value, and hopefully that store is growing over time, but it's not producing passive income for whatever that's
net worth.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, you can then utilize that, refi, cash out, HELOC. There's lots of different ways to leverage that store in order to do what you want to do. All right, let's just dive into those. And you guys kind of hit the main ones: real estate, stocks, mutual funds, and stocks are going to be related, and we can distinguish between those. Personal residence as something that's hopefully growing in value that you're able to leverage. Let's also add, as we think about investments, there's safety, liquidity, and return as the 3 kind of major categories of evaluating an investment. Safety means if some CEO has a scandal or the government does something, this asset's value is not likely to take a hit. So then let's talk about liquidity. Means if something happens in my personal life, or I lose a job, or someone gets sick, how easily can I access this without taking a major tax hit within a reasonable time frame? And then return is how much money is it going to make within itself. So very rarely does a one asset class check all three of those boxes to the best possible version. So let's talk about a savings account. A savings account, is it safe? Yes.
Yeah. Yes,
Hey, how's
up
it
to
going?
a dollar amount.
Okay, we'll be done in. Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. Yes, a major political event is not going to wipe out your savings account. It sits there. It's accessible, and also if sorry, I lost my train of thought. But the return, what are we earning on our savings accounts right now? Anyone know? 0.5%, maybe. I've got an online high yield savings account, and it earns 0.5%, and they're proud of it. So, yay! I earn a couple dollars a month. But that's an important part. You know, you can have riskier stuff, but if you don't have an emergency fund or a highly liquid fund, it's not going to be getting you quite as far. Real estate, it's not going to go down like that, but it's impacted by market factors. So I would say moderately safe. It's not super liquid. You know, if the market takes a dip and you want to sell it, you can sell it, but you're going to be, you know, giving up a percentage of the value there. So it's one of the least liquid asset classes. And then from a return standpoint, I would argue that you're hard pressed to do better than real estate. So I'm with you, Lisa. Real estate is my personal favorite, though it does require effort, hassle. You manage some Airbnbs. I've got some long-term rentals. You're taking on another job. Stocks and mutual funds, I'm going to talk about those a little bit together. You're tracking the market as the company goes. In the case of an individual stock, so you go. So I bought some Tesla 6 years ago now, and I couldn't stomach it. After 6 months, it was doing one of these. And I'm like, I don't have the guts for this sort of ride. And I sold it. And now I'm looking at it saying, don't. I think it's worth 30 times now what it was when I bought it. And I didn't have the chutzpah to hang through. So the opportunity with the right stocks is immense. The problem is most people don't pick the right stocks, and that's difficult to replicate program. To Trina's point, mutual funds, basically, like I have a mutual fund that has 5,700 individual stocks in it. So it's indexing the market, and you can sector. You can say, oh, I want technology funds, I want healthcare funds. Or you can just say, I want the S&P 500, which is more my.
And that's the beauty of mutual funds, is you can buy, you know, I think it's diversification and comfort in building your wealth.
Totally.
You know, don't just put all your eggs in one basket either. You know, for me personally,
Totally.
You know, I flip properties and I've done well there. That's been great. Mutual funds, T. Rowe Price, do it yourself. Don't pay somebody to do it for you. That's worked for me.
Yep.
The diversification in mutual funds, if you're not sure, get an index fund. It'll mirror the, you know,
Totally.
You don't have to worry if Microsoft wins, you win. If they lose, you lose.
Totally.
You know, so.
And you'll benefit. Yeah, you'll benefit from Microsoft because they're in there. You know, they're in the mix.
Right.
You're not banking on them. You're not relying on the integrity of CEO or of a major.
If you like technology, go with that sector. If you like pharmaceuticals, go with that sector.
Totally.
know,
And to your point, there's a book, and I didn't bring it up. I brought a couple up that I'll share in a second. Simple Path to Wealth, written by Francis Collins, or no, J.L. Collins, is basically buy the stock market, the index funds, let it ride, and you'll be just fine.
yeah, time,
It's done over
time.
time.
Don't
Now,
be in a hurry.
right. So the trick with that is if you have a shorter time horizon, it takes compound interest takes time. It's not going to happen. And if you only have 10 years, you're not going to get as much momentum. If you've got 35 years, you've got a whole lot more runway. So
You can't be as aggressive if you only have 10 years too. You can
Correct.
be a lot more aggressive if you're younger.
correct. Yeah, it's
Never, 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 never sell on the dip.
that's right. Don't try to time the market. Time in the market, not timing the market, right?
Yeah.
Um,
When it went down to 18,000, the beginning of COVID, I'd put a ton of money in it.
Yep.
I was sick that it dropped. I was sick about it, but I thought, oh, well, guess what? Chips in.
hmm
And now I'm happy that I did.
Yeah, I'll say.
Never ever sell when it goes down like that, because it's going to go back up.
Right. It
It's
always
just,
has.
it's just sick for the moment.
Totally. No, you're 100% right. We are tight on time as Jose's group is coming in a few minutes. A couple books that I want to recommend to you. I just mentioned The Simple Path to Wealth. Really good, kind of philosophical, but really practical. Psychology of Money, maybe the best book on money and in the big picture sense I've ever read. And it really is psychology. He says your net worth is basically your ego minus your income minus your ego, which I thought was fantastic. And then the book that got me started, I can't not do a Gary Keller, A Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And this is all about utilizing real estate as the path towards building wealth. That's been my personal path, is buying real estate from a primary residence standpoint, moving and then keeping it as a rental. And so as I move, we get tenants that pay the mortgage and then pay us, on top of that. And then as that asset appreciates and as the debt gets paid down, it becomes a bigger part of my world. And over time, hopefully that'll continue to go. But there's no one plan. Don't be all in on one, in my opinion. And Jeff used the word diversified. Once you got your offense up, get yourself some real estate, get yourself some index funds, or use one to buy the other. Buy index funds to grow, and then as it grows, get yourself a house, and kind of cycle it that way if you're interested. I could talk for hours on this. Thanks for kind of joining for a more conversational approach. I will, if you would like to watch the video of Jay Papazan interviewing a KW agent talking about her journey, I'd be glad to kind of give you access so that you can watch that. So just shoot me a message and I can get you the info so we can log into the Mega Camp platform. But with that, I will bid you all a happy Monday afternoon.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for rolling with the punches.
Oh, that's okay.
We know
Thanks so
we're
much.